Two of the important protagonists in tonight's victory, both scoring goals, and it's the start you want. You can only beat what you're up against, can't you?
Yeah, Basel offered nothing really. They weren't a threat at all. Even on a counter-attack, Wolfwinkel was up front of his own, isolated. And often you didn't even see him up front. He was back in defence, defending with the other guys. So, no, you've got to beat what's put in front of you. Lukaku that today showed a little bit more to his game in terms of putting things on a plate for other people. But you've got to score, and you get your first goal, allowed you to relax and relax into the game, and they've done that, and it was a very, very professional job for Manchester United tonight.
Mourinho-esque performance.
Yep, keep talking about him being a winner, and I think I know how he is with group stages. He wants to get his wins in. He wants to get comfortable, wants to get through to the next round. He can come home and concentrate on the league. I think with the group they've got and the way they played tonight, they could do that.
I mean, it's not the strongest group. It was a good draw for them, wasn't it? And especially if you can get that early victory.
Yeah, it was a great draw and a nice first game for them to feel their way into the Champions League. And as Frank's just touched on there, I think in the Champions League it's very important to get qualification out the way as soon as you can, and then you can rest people in certain games to improve your league form, and I'm sure that's Jose what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Marouane Fellaini, scorer of the first goal. He's useful in both boxes in particular, isn't he?
He's excellent in both boxes, you know, defending set pieces, attacking set pieces. This goal was all about Ashley Young, you know, he just shifts it to the one side, shifts back on his favourite right foot, and we've all played with Ashley, and if you give him that, you know, that little bit of room, he'll put it on a sixpence. Absolute superb delivery from him. It's great to see him back as well. You know, we haven't seen him for a long time. It's a good performance from him tonight.
It's one of those versatile players who can play in a number of positions.
Again, Jose Mourinho player. He likes players that you can rely on and trust. I think Ashley's bought into how Jose is. He can use him as a wing back, as a full back, even further up the pitch. And he likes that. He knows he can rely on Ashley.
You played against Fellaini. You must have done.
Yeah, loads of times.
Awkward?
Yeah, very awkward.
In a bit.
Yeah, I mean, in the middle of the pitch, he never used to hurt you or harm you. Play against them all day. I used to like playing round them. Didn't really used to bother you really. But for Everton as a forward, he'd back into you, and people could run off him. He'd be a right handful. And you know, for United, if people get quality deliveries into the box, he'll score your goals.
And the same can be said probably of Romelu Lukaku.
Yeah, I mean, he's always going to be a problem in the box, and I think we understand that as a central striker, they've got him in to score goals. I think the impressive thing was what Rio said there, that he was showing the other side to his game there and creating things, and he was a big threat all night. Again, we spoke about before the game, you see his hunger and desire to score goals. I mean, as you say, created, but what they bought him for is to be in the mixer here, get up, doesn't get around it again, a bit like Fellaini, stand and jump, great finish. He deserved his goal tonight because he put in the work rate. As I say, there's no great movement. That's half the fault of the Basel defenders because they're not really attacking the ball.
He's prolific, and he's carrying on at Manchester United because you know when it's like when you go to a giant club, sometimes it can find you out.
He is going to score a lot of goals for Manchester United. In fact, and I think it comes down to what Stephen said pre-game. Can he score those ones that make him an absolute Manchester United legend, which would be the big games and when it's really critical? But he'll definitely score a lot.
Is he the kind of centre forward you like playing against Rio?
No, because he gets in around you and he makes things ugly sometimes. But what I would say is that we were talking about Didier Drogba before, who's a player who could be, maybe he should be looking up to, maybe, and looking at certain things in his game to add to it. And a particular part is Romelu Lukaku scores a lot of goals. You would look at Didier Drogba's goal record and it wouldn't blow you away in terms of numbers, but he scored important goals.
Big goals,
big goals in cup finals, league deciders, and this is what this guy's got to do. This is where he'll be loved. This is where he'll become folklore if he does that for Manchester United.
OK, we'll move on to Marcus Rashford, a young, up-and-coming young English striker, of course. Now, he's got quite a stat here in his debuts. He scored in his Champions League debut tonight. He scored in his Europa League debut. He scored in his Premier League debut. He scored in his League Cup debut. And he scored in his England debut. There's no FA Cup in there. I don't know whether he scored in his debut or not in that one. I presume he didn't, otherwise Joel, our statsman, would have told me. But it's great to get off onto a positive start, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, it's great for him. A wonderful footballer, unbelievable potential. We were talking about his finish for England last week. And he comes in, and for wingers that stay out wide, they don't get many goals, Gary. But if you attack that far post on the opposite side, that's where the goals will come from. We've seen it over the years, Ryan Giggs getting loads of these goals coming in at the back post, and he's got a wonderful future.
I'm hoping he was smart there because he could have easily sprinted in the box here to get in the 6-yard box, but he held out, hit it into the ground, nothing wrong with that, a bubble to get you a goal. Great assist from the Basel defenders, he overed it. Must have heard him coming and made it very easy, but he's still got to finish.
I think what's impressive about him as well is his temperament. in all them debuts, scoring on debuts, you've got to have the temperament to come in and not be fazed by the occasion, and he seems to have that in abundance.
What impressed me was that I saw him in a game halfway through last season when he was just emerging as a player, and all of a sudden I think it was a 0-0 game against a team not pretty. He didn't necessarily have a great game. It was the last minute, and there was a free kick. There was other top players on the pitch, and he just grabbed it 25 yards out. Keeper made a great save, and I thought, he's got something. That confidence that you need to be a top player.
That's the confidence of youth and special players. And look back in our careers, Michael Owen, I remember him coming on and scoring straight away in certain things. Wayne Rooney did the same thing. Special players do score and hit the ground running, and that confidence will take him a long way. It's brilliant for him.
How do you rate him?
I think he's very good. He's got a huge future ahead of him. It's great that he's English. Not so good that he's a Man United player from my point of view, but yeah, I mean, he's got pace, he's got everything to his game, he scores all kinds of different goals, and we spoke a few weeks ago about Trent Alexander-Arnold having the courage and the character to step up while there's big names around to take free kicks, and credit to the kid having that ball.
That's it.
I think as well, where he's going to end up, he started wide. He seems like he wants to play down the middle and score goals. Where will he eventually play? I mean, will he stay? Will he go to central forward when he gets a bit older and drift out like Thierry Henry used to out to the left-hand side? I think that's a big part of his...
I quite like him on the left. I'm not sure he looks like a natural poacher.
I'd like to see him embrace it.
Time will tell.
Embrace it. He can score a lot of goals from that position.
Yeah, he certainly will. Well, Manchester United, of course, have won by 3-0. Well, winning the Europa League last season was Manchester United's passport to the Champions League, and tonight they've started their campaign well. Here's the United manager, Jose Mourinho.
Jose, you're often running in the Champions League. Are you satisfied with that start?
Well, 3 points are important. When you start at home, the group phase to win is always important. I think until the second nil we played very stable, with confidence, with patience, with good choices, and we played, I would say, quite well. After the 2-0, I think everything changed. We stopped to play, we stopped to think, we stopped to play seriously, we stopped to make the right decisions on the pitch, and we could put ourselves in trouble, but they didn't score, and then the third goal came.
We saw you demanding more. Does stray passes go? Is that the kind of thing that was frustrating you?
Bad decisions, fantasy football, PlayStation football, tricks. And when you stop to play as a team and when you stop to play seriously, I don't like, and you gamble a little bit. Probably the players I felt that the game was under control with the 2-0, but football is football. You have to respect opponents.
Was this a chance then to open up a bigger gap, goal difference?
No, I don't know if the goal difference is going to play a part on it. It's not knockout. The 3 points are the most important thing. I just felt that after the 2-0, the decisions went completely in the wrong direction. We lost position. We lost our shape. We lost too many balls in easy situations. I think the players relaxed too much, and I didn't like it. But overall, the performance was solid, and 3 points are really important for us.
Recently, you've been talking about Marouane Fellaini and how important he is to you. Did we see why tonight?
No, I keep saying the same and the same and the same. He's a player with special with special qualities. He does things that some of other players they cannot do it. He gives me a multiple area of actions and positions and philosophy on the pitch, and I would say that he's one of my most important players, even if sometimes I don't start matches with him.
And another individual to mention, Ashley Young came back in that reshuffled defence. Were you happy with him? Some great crosses in the first half.
Yeah, he did well, and you know, it's quite trendy now. Teams playing with 5 defenders. Sometimes they like to say 3, but 3 I don't see anyone. I only see them with 5, and it's difficult. And Ashley gave us what Antonio would give us. I think they are both very, very good. But Antonio, as I was saying before the match, after playing Brazil, in Ecuador, in Stoke, 2 days after, I felt that Ashley could do the job perfectly, and he did it.
Just one sound out. How's Paul Pogba? It looked like a hamstring problem.
I don't know. It looks for me too, but I didn't speak yet with him or with the medical department, but the squads are for this. The squads are for injuries. The squads are for suspension. We don't cry with injuries. We had yesterday a huge attack on some of our important players, and we didn't cry. We went all the way with the players available. So no Paul for Sunday. We have Herrera, we have Carrick, we have Fellaini, and we have Matic.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you.
Yeah, they have a big squad. He's clearly not that happy. You've played with him many times, Frank, these players, do you think?
I'm not sure. I think there's an element of, not reverse psychology is not the word, but it's one of the tricks in the book is when you play well and win quite comfortably, remind them when they took their foot off the pedal, which they did. PlayStation, football, fantasy.
Can he get angry? In the
what do you think?
Yeah, I think he can, but I'd like to hear exactly how he...
He definitely can. He definitely can. And I think I haven't seen that many hairdryer moments as such.
Yeah.
But he'll certainly let you know. He's more of a man of standards, and you kind of feel when you drop to below the standards, and he would say what needs to be said.
I mean, you've got to keep pushing your players, Steve.
Yeah, well, he's a perfectionist. I think that's why he's had so much success in his career, and I think it's more try and provoke them a little bit to get them on the toes for the weekend. It was a comfortable win. It was never in doubt, and maybe he's just thinking there might be a bit of complacency creeping in for the weekend, and he's just trying for that provocation.
But I think deep down, I think he'll be looking at it, and you can see major improvements in this squad, not just team, but the squad, the influence of the people off the bench. But also, if you look back in the last couple of years, there's always been a self-destruct button. They've always let people in the back door. They've always give up chances in games like this against teams they should put away easily.
But they've got better players now,
and they look
haven't
more comfortable.
Generally?
They've got better players, but they're a better squad, and they're a more together squad. And last season, winning trophies has instilled that confidence and that self-assurance in the team.
And they've got a centre forward that's scoring goals. Lukaku's night. I mean, he could have had one or two more.
Yeah, he could have. It's the same at the weekend. He could have had one or two more. But today they finished on a winning team. And we spoke about it earlier. We touched on that. His all-round game looked a lot crisper tonight. And he got his goal, but also I think he'll be pleased that he was putting chances on the plate for other players too, and he was working in areas outside of the box. You don't normally see him. He likes to be in and around the box, causing problems, getting on the end of things. But here he was setting up people. Mkhitaryan should have done better there.
He's got a strong all-round game, hasn't he?
He has. I think at Everton he was a bit more selfish. He played for himself at times, and at certain times he was accused of being lazy, and I could see that. But I think since he's gone to United, he's got a spring in his step. He's working harder. He's working in other areas of the pitch. He seems to be a lot more unselfish, and he's getting his rewards because he's got more quality around him.
It's interesting you used the word lazy there, because Frank, you were saying earlier that he's a player, having worked with him, that used to push himself in training, work hard.
He worked hard. He's dedicated. He's intelligent, and I think with Lukaku, you're not going to get a delicate touch all the time. His size doesn't allow that, but it's effective, and he knows what he's doing. The touches we see him there having on that right side, reminiscent of a Thierry Henry back in the day, floated off to left because he wanted to cut back to his right. I think from those little inside right areas, he can cut the ball back to his left and get his shot away, and he'll score a lot of goals from them areas.
I think the only weakness that I do see in his game, really in his all-round play, is when if the game's tight and there's two banks of four and you try and play intricate passes into him and expect nice little soft touches off of him for other players and bringing other players into the game. That's probably the only weakness that I really see, because he hasn't got that, like Frank said, he hasn't got that silky touch where he can bring people in and that maybe that vision right at the moment. But that's something that hopefully over time will introduce.
He's still he seems to have been around for donkey's years, but he's actually still very young, of course. I suppose the only negative, Jose talks about it at the end. He said we don't bleat about injuries because we've got a powerful big squad, but Pogba's a blow, there's no question about that.
It's a blow. He's obviously a big name for him. We all saw it straight away. I'm sure Jose knows relatively what the injury is, but they'll probably assess it and look at how long he'll be out for. But I suppose, I don't know, with Pogba, I think he's obviously has to get into their team, but him not playing there gave Jose a chance to put Fellaini next to Matic, have a base, which I think he's going to want in a lot of big games. So the question will be, when Pogba comes back, again, the same questions last season, do you play more advanced to make him in the best position for the team? Well,
he also mentioned Herrera and Carrick as well. They've got players to fill in.
They've got options, and they've got options in the middle of the park. Michael Carrick can come in there, a lot of experience, make them play. Herrera come out of the team, but had a decent season last year, so I don't think it'll affect them that much. But it's still a blow because he is a big player for them and a big personality in there. Yeah,
I just think it's frustrating for Pogba. And knowing him as I do as an individual, he wants to prove his worth in this team. And he started the season with the bit between his teeth, like he wanted to come in and show people that he could take hold of games, have an influence on games. And he scored a couple of goals already, had a couple of assists as well. And so that's
slows down the momentum, doesn't it?
Yeah,
just as you start to go.
That's the key word. I think momentum, any part of the season, is such a huge thing. And he was just starting to gather a bit of that. And it's been taken out of him right now.
How far do you think this United team can go this season? Not necessarily just in the Champions League, but the Premier League as well.
Certainly contenders in the Premier League. I think from their early start, the squad that he's got together now is very strong, very Jose Mourinho-esque in the way you look at it. But I would worry slightly. I think there were a few instances today at the back. They don't mark tight enough in the box. I think they leave spaces. A team like Basel had a few opportunities there where they're not getting quite tight enough in the box.
Against the very best.
And against the best, when you get into the business end and we go past the group stage, that's where they're going to have to tighten up, because no matter what the players have got going forward, against the best, you have to defend.
I mean, they had a couple of players missing in that position, but do you think that's perhaps the one area of the team where they could be a tad weak?
I still think of full strength, Gary. I worry about the centre-back partnership. I don't see, obviously sitting next to me, I don't see a Vidic and a Ferdinand. I don't see a partnership like that. I don't think they've found the right left-back yet. And although I like Valencia going forward and stuff, he's a strong player, I still think in the big games he can get found out when people pass around him. So I still think they'll have issues further on in this competition defensively, but the squad's certainly good enough to compete.
Is it me, or do most teams have problems defensively nowadays? Has the skill, the strength of defending gradually been kind of diminished?
Yeah, well, I think in the last few years, I think young defenders are being taught first and foremost to be good on the ball, receive the ball and start the attacks, and the incentive for a young player is to be good on and bring the ball out and play. Whereas before, your first instinct had to be defending first, and if you've got anything else to add to that, including playing and passing, then that's great. But I think nowadays you're not taught to defend your box when the ball's wide. I don't see players. I don't see coaches working on that. They're working on the shape of their team when we have the ball or when we're defending from the front. And I see that's just a problem maybe for individual defenders, especially 1v1 as well.
Well, thanks for your time, but it's not done yet because you're coming back for the highlights, all three of you, because there's been loads of games and bags of goals, 28 in all, and we'll have them all for you when we show you all the matches when we come up after the break.